Okay.
Here, we are now live.
Okay, then. Good evening. This meeting of the Property Standards and Animal Services Appeal Committee is being held electronically and live streamed on the internet. Due to the COVID-19 emergency and requirements for physical distancing, no in-person attendance is permitted at this meeting. All regular practices and procedures of the committee continue to apply during this electronic meeting. If we encounter any technical difficulties, we may take a brief recess while they are resolved. Thank you for your patience. We'll now proceed with the meeting. I now call this meeting to order at 7:07. My name is David Saunders. I will be acting as chairperson this evening. I welcome all individuals present. I'm now going to read the description of the committee mandate and our procedures. The Town of Ajax Property Standards Appeal Committee has full delegation of the authority in the Building Code Act and the Municipal Act to hear appeals. The committee shall hear evidence presented by witnesses, town bylaw staff, property owners, and other individuals that may have evidence relating to the case, and make decisions on the status of property standard orders by confirming, modifying, rescinding, or extending the time for complying with the order. If an individual or the town does not agree with the decision of the committee with regards to a property standards decision, the order may be appealed to the Superior Court of Justice. All appeal processes will be outlined in the written decision of the committee, which will be mailed to the appellant. The format of this meeting will be that each appeal will be heard in order listed on the agenda, and tonight we only have the one appeal. Town staff will present their testimony to the committee. The committee will then ask the officer questions. At the conclusion of committee questions, the appellant will then have the option to ask questions to the officer. This process will continue for each witness that will give testimony on behalf of the town. After the town has concluded their case, the appellant will present their testimony to the committee. The committee will ask questions to the appellant. At the conclusion of committee questions, town staff will then have the option to ask questions to the appellant. This process will continue for each witness that will give testimony on behalf of the appellant. At the conclusion of the presentation of evidence, each side will be asked to summarize their position, starting with town staff. The committee will then deliberate in a public forum. It is important that the appellant remain present as there may be additional questions raised by members. All right, then we're going to proceed with our agenda. The first item is approval of minutes from the hearing of May 21st, 2020. We have the minutes in our package. Do I have any motions to add, delete, correct, or anything with the minutes? Not hearing any, so can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'm okay. My name is Andre.
Okay, Tyler, and seconded.
I'll second that.
Jessica, minutes are approved. We now proceed to our property standards appeal case. Just for my edification, so we have committee members, Jessica, Tyler. We have our Town of Ajax officer, Christensen. Is that right?
That is correct.
Are there any other people representing the town who are participants in this? No? Okay. How about the appellant? Is it Mr. Cherkov?
I'm here.
You're there. Is there anybody else, Mr. Cherkov, who is participating in the meeting?
From my side, I am alone.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cherkov. Okay, I now ask the town officer Christensen to give your evidence.
My name is Bylaw Officer Shane Christensen. I'm a property standards officer with the town of Ajax. And on July 2nd, 2020, the town received a complaint regarding a grouping of dead trees in an area north of Gidley Lane. I completed an inspection of that area and found a large grouping of trees which contained several dead trees within it. I took a photo, which is on page 14, which shows the trees in question. And when you look at the photograph, you'll see a number of trees that have green pines throughout the whole structure of the trees. And then right in the center, you'll see a grouping of 4 trees that are grayish white as far as the bark or trunks go. They have a number of branches that are completely bare of any type of growth at all. So they're clearly, I made the determination the tree was either in a decayed condition or most likely dead. As typical, after I had completed my inspection, I went back to the office and reviewed not only the complaint, but we have software available, which is called Map Viewer software. It allows us to examine the property utilizing an overhead view. And the benefits to this software are that depending on the levels we use, you see the demarcation of property lines. You see all buildings that are in the area. So it allows the investigating officer to make scientific determinations. And in regards to trees, in the property standards bylaw, if you have a diseased, decayed, or dead tree in a developed area, so for example, because, and if you review the map view overhead on page 15, you'll see that there are clearly a number of properties with homes on them, a row of townhomes, which clearly indicates that that is a developed area. And that was one of the things that I wanted to examine that I couldn't do at the time of the inspection, but I could do it when I got back to the office. And based upon my eyewitness account, when I was in the area, when I examined my photograph and referenced the size and length of the trees, and then looked at the development in the area around the trees, I came to the conclusion that based upon our property standards bylaw, the dead trees would have to be removed. I sent out 2 separate property standards orders to 2 properties in that area that contained diseased, decayed, or dead trees. And one was sent to the appellant. And that was sent out July 10th, the date that the order was issued, which is standard for the town of Ajax. On July the 16th, I received an email from the appellant requesting what appeared to me to be a property site plan. And then I had sent an email out requesting contact, but I didn't receive any contact from Mr. Shirkoff. However, I examined our database and discovered a contact phone number. So I called him in order to clarify, because I wanted to find out exactly the information he was requesting. And then we spoke for, I would estimate, 1 minute in length. And the appellant was visibly or noticeably, I would say, agitated. The phone call did not go the way that I typically would like it to go, where we can share information. One of the things I pride myself on is my ability to communicate and interact with the residents in the town of Ajax, and I'm very generous with that. And my intention was, if I was not making myself absolutely clear, I would attend the appellant's property and we could go over all of the issues. I would mark the trees. I would do everything from a customer service perspective to completely satisfy any questions or concerns the appellant had. Unfortunately, I wasn't given that opportunity. In the order, there is a 14-day appeal period, and then the town did receive an appeal from the appellant. I would just like to add one final thing. Included with the order, there was also a miscellaneous letter, which is page 19 of the appeal package. It was sent out with the order on July the 10th. And what this letter, again, as a customer service courtesy, I send this miscellaneous letter just to communicate to the homeowners that if they disagree with the order, they can get an arborist or hire their own arborist and provide the town with the arborist report if it contradicts what my findings were. And again, it has all my personal information. So many times what that does is it really solidifies or impresses upon the homeowners that bylaw officers are accessible, that they can call us, they can email us, and that the lines of communication are always open. In this case here, that was not taken advantage of by the appellant. And all of the other parts of the package are the notice of appeal sent by the homeowners, and then the response of the property standards secretary, Rahima Makrood. And that was all the evidence that I had regarding this property standards order.
Thank you, Officer Christensen. We'll now have questions from the committee. Does anybody have a question?
No questions.
I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
I'd like to ask Mr. Christensen, Officer Christensen, what experience do you have as a property standards officer in Ajax?
I have 8 years of property standards experience within the town of Ajax.
Have you ever dealt with a decayed or dead tree situation?
I have, in my career with the town of Ajax, I have addressed, I would estimate, at least 100 property standards complaint files relating to decayed, diseased, or dead trees.
And the last question I'd like to ask you, is it standard practice for you to conduct an initial inspection without an arborist?
It is. It would depend on a number of considerations. In this case, because the trees were clearly dead, and even I'll backstep a bit, for bylaw complaints regarding trees, if we have additional information provided by a complainant that is very descriptive, that factors in on our discretionary standards regarding bringing the town arborist with us. In this case, the description was that the trees were undoubtedly dead and that they were presenting a hazard and that they were close to a developed area. So typically what I do in that case is I attend the property for my initial inspection. And then if I am not absolutely sure, if there's any question at all, then I reach out to our town arborist to complete a follow-up inspection. And I would say out of the 100 times that I've inspected trees, I would have the arborist attend at least 60% of the time.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Cherkoff, you now
Yeah.
have an opportunity to ask Officer Christensen questions, but this is not your opportunity to present your evidence. This is just strictly questions. So do you have any questions for Officer Christensen?
Yeah, I do have some.
Okay, go ahead.
So first question, Mr. Christensen said that he received complaint which was the trigger for inspection. What he didn't tell us what the complaint was about.
Can you put that in the form of a question, please? What's the question you want to ask Officer Christensen?
What kind of complaint he received? He didn't tell us.
Your question is what kind of a complaint?
Yeah. At the beginning of his story, he told us that he received complaint. That was the trigger for inspection. He
Okay.
didn't tell us what kind of complaint.
Okay, Officer Christensen, can you answer that question?
If I'm understanding correctly, I'll give you two answers. The complaint itself is described as a property standards complaint. And secondly, it was specific to dead trees on a property in Ajax.
Okay. Mr. Cherkoff, do you have any other questions for Officer
I-
Christensen?
I do have. Did the officer heard about ecological value of dead trees? How important dead trees for ecological value?
The short answer to that is under our property standards bylaw, you cannot have dead trees on a property.
Another question. Does Mr. Christensen have any credential regarding civil blueprints reading? Is it understandable, my question? For example, I have,
Do you have any-
sorry,
Sorry, do you have any credentials regarding blueprint?
reading of civil drawings, yeah. Because I'm pretty sure site plan reading, official plan listed under the municipal act and building code required certain credential, knowledge and skills. And my question, does Mr. Christensen have these credentials, certificate, courses?
I am not required to have that credential.
Okay, so for last question, is Mr. Christensen certified arborist?
Could you repeat the second? I heard arborist. I didn't
Yeah,
hear.
well, yeah, I will try. Do you sir have a certificate of arborist by ISA?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. You answered my question.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, then, Mr. Cherkoff, now is your opportunity to present your evidence. So please go ahead and tell us your side of the story, please.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I have no any personal concerns. I'm working in engineering consulting company. I have bachelor in civil engineering. I'm very meticulous. I'm very meticulous gentleman. My rule, never ever my private opinion. And all time have any reference specification over there. So I'm gonna go through my appeal. It will be help me out. So first one regarding schedule A. Mr. Christensen saying that bylaw shall not apply to removal of a diseased, dead, or hazardous tree. He's saying about bylaw 137 2006. It's a tree protection bylaw. I consider this as an absolute jurisdiction nonsense, because how come officer, municipal employee could make conditionally any bylaw for any resident of Ajax? How many residents this bylaw is not applicable to as well? How come? I couldn't understand. It's a selective choice, like this bylaw apply to this resident, this not apply to this resident. This absolutely confusing situation. So this not understandable at all for me. Second one, I am stating in my appeal that only municipal act give authority and power to municipality to inspect tree. And this power listed under section 135 and case in section 62. There is no any, actually all applicable matters under building code regarding power of municipality are listed, but there is no any power to inspect trees. As I was surprised. And my concern, what actually section of building code give jurisdiction of municipality to inspect trees? Because the point is that by law are not matches requirements of province of Ontario regulations. That I mentioned in my report as well. Next one sec. Property standards. There is no any property standards regarding trees as well. The total number of the words in the building code over 35,000. There is no any one single word trees. So I think, and I proved with a reference to province of Ontario regulation, that only municipal act give power to municipality to inspect trees. Next one I would like to say. Actually, I'm pretty sure all members of committee read my appeal, and one sec. And actually about site plan and official plan, there is a very hard referencing from both municipal act calls it site plan, and building code calls it official plan. 2 years ago, I have certain concern, safety concern, regarding the same owner who made complaint about trees on my property. And town of Ajax responded to me, the town of Ajax not dealing with the civil matters. Actually, I didn't like this response, but I appreciate this. This is absolutely the right way. I could not understand why Mr. Christensen start initiate this complaint about my trees. And I see the correct hypothetical answer should be that existing province of Ontario regulation do not give us power to inspect this tree. If you have any civil, safety, environmental, or whatever concern, you need to apply to the court, because this issue has been relocated on my head, and it substantially affect our well-being, you know, because I open this regulation, I check planning act, I check municipal act, I check building code act, I check precedence law, and was so surprised how come. And I'm pretty sure it's not single case with me, it's a multi-years practice. At what I scheduled to do, I'm gonna escalate this case because I'm just thinking, do I need to just set up my personal case to cancel this order, or I need to ask court to initiate for new revision of existing bylaw? Because It's too many contradiction and confusing. So I am finalizing my testimony by saying I do disagree, and I make a lot of references in my appeal, and I'm gonna keep doing towards, because I'm pretty sure not many residents has so much power to proceed till the final end, I mean to the court, but it should be changed. I wish our community all the best, and I'm here about well-being of my family, and it will be very reasonable and useful for the future. So I see big contradiction between bylaws and province of Ontario regulation. I am finished, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Cherkov. Just allow me a minute to write a few notes here. All right, then. Do any of the committee members have questions for Mr. Cherkov?
No
I do
questions.
not.
Okay, then.
I do wish, sorry, receive as many questions as possible.
Well, we have no questions for you at this time.
It is what it is.
Officer Christensen, do you have any questions for Mr. Cherkov?
Yes, I do. Mr. Cherkov, in the miscellaneous letter, I had provided information that if you disagreed with the order, that you were welcome to have a arborist complete an inspection of the trees on your property and then provide you with a report that would subsequently be provided to the town. Did you, by any chance, hire an arborist, and did you receive a report?
You finished your question, sir?
I am, sir.
I do like your question. Why? Because I like the proper sequence. This discussion shall be done before the order. Thus, you could show respect to my party. Because once order issued, time started. I have certain time to appeal. Then I have certain time to go to Superior Court of Justice. My strong opinion, I am always an inspector. I am quality auditor of bridge construction, and always respecting any party writes their vision, and always asking them. I'm talking in advance, not after. I am starting initiate concern about any deficiency before I am making any paper, any report to my manager. And this, I see, is the right procedure. You could meet me before this order. We could discuss everything absolutely friendly. But unfortunately, my hands was tied with the order. I called Arborist. I met Arborist, and she gave me great report. I do love it. I'm not gonna make it exposed right now to Ajax, because I already choose my hard and difficult way, and I will go. Because so far I consider this order void, not valid, not legal, and I put all reason in my appeal why. That's why we didn't go in the friendly manner before order. I still couldn't understand, because nobody restrict us to meet and discuss. Did I answer your question, sir?
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Do you think, based upon the arborist inspection or your own personal discretion, do you believe that the 4 pine trees in your backyard that are completely bare of any pines and have a discoloration, do you believe that they are dead or decayed?
As I mentioned at the beginning, private opinion, private feelings, not a source of the law. I do believe it could be dead, but the point is, I could swear on the Bible that these two trees, the most busy, the most funny with the birds, with the squirrel, with the raccoons, because it's very understandable. It's a 360 degrees review all the way around. Animals and birds feel very comfortable on these trees, you know, and we do love in all these trees was one of the crucial matter when we bought this home. Once we relocated here more than 3 years ago, I have 3 kids. They never ever got sick. Never ever. It's never happened. Before this, they got caught. So it's a kind of treasure for us. It's a treasure for us. And being honestly, there is no doubt that live tree to fall down because of strong wind or whatever have more chance than dead tree, because geometrical volume, because of live leaves around, you know. How many dead trees we have fell down after the strong wind? I never ever. Sorry, did I answer your question?
Yes. Would you mind if I just made one statement in regard to your answer?
Yes, please.
You made a very valid point, sir, that you have a family, you have children, you have a beautiful property. I want you to understand that the action I took, as you mentioned earlier, it wasn't driven by personal malice. I didn't take the action of issuing an order to be a mean person. The reason why we issue property standards orders in regards to dead trees is that they present a real hazard. Section 415 and 416 specifically mention the hazards of dead trees on the property. It's not that the town does not see the benefit in having trees, but if you check with your arborist or with any scientist who has studied trees, they will tell you conclusively that a dead tree poses a real risk. And that is our concern. It's a risk to you, your family, and neighboring properties.
Officer Christensen, do you have any more questions for Mr. Cherkov?
No, I do not.
Okay,
Could I please?
okay.
Could I
We're
please
gonna move on
respond?
now. We're not going to be arguing between each other. We're going to move on to a summary of your cases. And
Got
in
it.
fact, some of what you were saying, Officer Christensen, is probably worthy of your position summary. So both of you will have an opportunity to summarize your cases before we deliberate. All right, and we're going to start with Officer Christensen. Can you summarize your position, please?
Yes, sir. I agree with you. What I just mentioned previously would be the extent of my summary, that a property standards order was issued in regards to decayed or dead trees on the property. And that is to mitigate a hazard that dead trees present. And I have no doubt that the trees that I had pointed out are dead and should be taken down.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Cherkov,
Yeah.
you presented your evidence, you've asked questions. Now is a chance to summarize your position, if you would like, to the committee. So go ahead.
I will with pleasure. As I just understood that the prime concern is safety. I do strongly disagree with this concern of safety, because town of Ajax need to care about safety on town of Ajax properties. And these three safety concern, environmental concern, or on any other concern, only between me and between my neighbor behind the fence. It's a matter of civil court proceeding and nobody else. 2 years ago, I sent complaints that I have iced of 1/3 area of my backyard because this neighbor changed grading, and I got response from town of Ajax. This states civil matter we do not consider between owner. Is it fair? is it fair if I am giving safety concern, town official ignoring me? He said, and I agree. I don't like, but I agree. This is the right thing. How come town of Ajax care about safety, not on their properties? It couldn't be like this. If this lady or any owner behind doesn't like something on my property, she has civil rights to go to the court, make application, and I must follow court decision. I think this is a fake concern. I do care myself about safety of my family, and I do care about safety of my job. So I could not accept this point of view about safety, and I explain you why. I finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cherkov. Okay, now the committee will now deliberate in public forum. As a reminder, we ask the appellant to remain present as there may be additional questions raised by the members. All right, my committee members, do you have any initial thoughts regarding the order?
Oh, well, I think the order's fine. And unfortunately, the problem that Mr. Chekhov has with the order is that he doesn't think it follows the provincial legislation. And we're not here to interpret provincial statute. And I don't think we're in a position to say that the town of Ajax doesn't have the authority to enforce this bylaw. So I'm not sure what else.
Okay, Jessica, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, actually, Tyler summarized my thoughts exactly. I believe that the bylaw is being followed with regards to the request for the removal of the dead or decaying trees. And it is Mr. Cherkov's belief that that is an improper bylaw, that it doesn't have legislation over the property. However, like Tyler indicated, we're not here to argue jurisdiction. So I believe that the order is appropriate, and I don't have any further comments on that.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you in that regard. I think Mr. Cherkov was in a situation earlier, which we have no information about, of a complaint was between neighbors or a dispute or something about these trees. And we're not aware of the complaint or the remedy of that. Only the matter, as I said in reading the beginning, we're only here to look at the order that was put forward and whether to uphold it or rescind it or modify it. So the mandate of this committee is not to look at the legislation or to review the bylaws in the town of Ajax, but rather to look at the order itself and narrowly interpret whether this order is justified and if we should change it or get rid of it or uphold it. That would be about, I think that summarizes pretty much my deliberations on it. Are there any other thoughts, committee members?
I motion to uphold the order as written.
Okay, we have a motion to uphold the order as written. Can I have a vote on that?
Yep.
Okay, the motion is passed. Okay, Mr. Cherkov, the committee has deliberated and we advise that the order has been upheld as is written. A written decision will be mailed to you following the meeting. If you do not agree with the committee's decision, the appeals process will be detailed in the written decision mailed to you, and I have outlined those options earlier in the meeting. Okay, let's move on with our agenda.
Could I have two clarifications, please?
Sorry, Mr. Cherkov, what is that?
Couple clarifications, please. In what time approximately I will get committee decision? Next week?
That I don't know. That's the staff will turn it around, I'm sure, in a timely manner.
Okay, whatever. And second one, based on the list of the participants, I see 1, 2, 3. How many committee members we have right now?
You have 3.
3. Okay. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chertoff. Let's move on with a verbal update from the town.
Thank you, Chairperson. With regard to the animal services appeal that the committee heard the last time, 41 Wilson Gary Circle, there has been a new incident that occurred from there. And Part 1 charge has been laid for failure to comply with an order that matters before the courts now.
Failure to comply. Okay, thank you. All right. Any new business? Do we have anything new to discuss?
The chairperson of the town of Ajax has no new business at this time.
No. Any committee members have any new business? No.
No.
Okay. I believe we can conclude the business now of the of this meeting. Do you have? Can I entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I will motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jessica. And we will motion is to adjourn is approved. And thank you everyone for your time this evening. That concludes the meeting.
Thank you.